ITV's review into Philip Schofield's behaviour on This Morning has been published after he quit the TV show over allegations surrounding his relationship with a younger colleague.
It found that the broadcaster made considerable efforts to find out the truth about rumours of his relationship with a colleague in 2019. But despite those efforts, it was unable to do so, unable to find the evidence.
Well, joining us now to tell us more about it is showbiz journalist Rebecca Toomey. Very good to see you this morning, Rebecca. So what do you make then of this? So unable to uncover any relevant evidence until Philip Schofield had made any admission.
I mean, it's quite shocking, really, isn't it, that ITV have commissioned this independent review and still we've got no real answers. And what's very interesting is that Schofield himself and the younger colleague that was also involved in this, neither of them were taking part in this review. So we don't have any actual evidence from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And what's very interesting is that only one person in this whole review said that they knew about this affair, even though it was an open secret within showbiz and celebrity circles. Now, the problem here is that ITV want to have this open culture. But the problem is that it doesn't appear to be that way because it doesn't really seem to make sense that so many colleagues didn't know, whereas it was such an open secret. And another thing is that ITV have actually tried to do a revised duty of care for their staff. And earlier this year, they put out legislation saying that you need to tell us about any close friendships, relationships, anything that's going on in the workplace. But what the bigger problem is that I think a lot of these staff members and freelancers and contributors are too frightened because they don't know what the repercussions are for themselves if they whistleblow. Because Dr. Ranj, he's a celebrity doctor, he used to contribute to This Morning. He claims that he spoke to someone senior at ITV to talk about the toxic workplace at This Morning. And he claims that shortly after, he didn't really work for them much longer. So that's just one example of how there's quite a lot of fear, I think, for people's jobs for being the whistleblower in a case like that with Schofield.
In the interests of transparency, I should say that I worked at ITV for a total of 20 years. 10 of those years was on Good Morning Britain. I never worked on This Morning, but we all shared this same massive newsroom that was divided down the middle. This issue about toxic culture, it's certainly something that I was never aware of on the programme I worked on. That's not to say it didn't happen, but it wasn't something that was familiar to me. I personally always found bosses approachable.
I think the term with toxic work culture, I think it goes across, not just in entertainment and television, but across all industries, is that what might be toxic to one person, what someone's experience might be at a company or with a certain individual, with a TV presenter, with a celebrity, with a manager, might be very different to someone else's. It doesn't have to be toxic for everyone. It could be toxic for one person. And it's down to different interpretations as well. Live TV, as you both know, is very stressful. There's a lot of pressures, a lot of competition, and sometimes ego as well. And that can create certain situations where some people might be able to just brush things off and deal with it, and other people might not be able to. And I think in this modern workplace, a post-Me Too world, there might need to be different approaches and change, particularly with younger people coming into the workplace. Because let's also remember, a lot of these people, especially junior members of staff, don't have much stability, particularly in TV with their jobs. So they often don't feel that they can speak up, and they don't know always what their rights are or are not.
And I think actually from when I remember the newsroom, it was always very clear how much power the presenters did have. I mean, there was this massive, and I mean massive, poster of Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby on the wall. You were under no illusion that those two were the talent. So when you see that every day, you realise how much power they did have.